I'd like to call the Board of County Commissioners back into order on Tuesday, March 17th, 2015, and we will pick up our agenda where we left off with these time-certain public hearings. And our first one is item 14A with County Council. It's the second reading and public hearing on ordinance 15-02 in the matter of establishing county community corrections. And we have Sebastian Tapia from County Council. Sebastian.
Good afternoon, Chair Bozovich and Commissioners. I'm here for the second reading on matter of establishing county community corrections.
So, any questions of staff before I open the public hearing? See none, then I will open the public hearing on ordinance 1502. And I don't know if we have somebody that can jump over and check the sign-in sheet, see if anyone signed up to speak on this. I'm looking out in our Florida Marlins audience out here and not seeing a lot of people that look like they're here for that. Just want to confirm. So we have no one signed up to speak on this public hearing, and if there's no one from the audience, then I will close the public hearing on ordinance 1502. And any further questions or comments for staff or from the commissioners? Commissioner Stewart.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move approval of ordinance 15-02 in the matter of establishing county community corrections.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing and hearing none, it's just an ordinance, so we'll take the roll, and we'll note that Commissioner Farr is excused this afternoon. He's in Salem.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart.
Aye.
Commissioner Lyken.
Aye.
Commissioner Bozovich.
Aye. And with Commissioner Farr excused. So passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. And now we'll move on to Public Works, and we'll start with the second reading and public hearing on ordinance number 1503 in the matter of amending Chapter 16 of Lane Code to adopt code language and to make certain housekeeping corrections and clarification revisions to be consistent with Oregon revised statutes and Oregon administrative rules, LC 16.210 and 16.290, and it's file numbers 509 PA 14 05053 and PA 14 05054. And we have Lindsay Eichner.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The item before you today is a follow-up item from the 2013 code amendments that I brought to you last fall that you adopted through two sequential ordinances. Ordinance 1408, where the majority of those were legislative updates and some minor housekeeping tweaks. The board adopted that ordinance on October 7th, and then there's a subsequent ordinance 1409, which was more substantial changes, and that was adopted on December 16th. And inadvertently, the second ordinance that we adopted erased out some of the language that was previously adopted in ordinance 1408. So that is the majority of the four changes that we're recommending today to fix that error. And the other change was to strike a line that was inadvertently left in the code when we added a whole new section. So I can go over those changes with you if you'd like. The first one in the packet is a change to language in the F1 zone, which is Lane Code Chapter 16-210. Section 2 is permitted uses, and there currently is a line, well, there's two letter K's, and the second line is maintenance, repair, and replacement of existing dwellings. And what we're proposing today is to strike that line because we have previously adopted an entire new section, which is section 6, that lists out all of the criteria and the processes for an administrative process and a director level process for replacement dwellings. So we're proposing to strike it out of the one sentence out of the permitted uses, since we have an entire new section that has additional criteria. The second set of language the second proposed change is in the rural residential zone, which is in Lane Code, Chapter 16-290, subsection 2, and it's proposing to break out residential accessory structures, basically break out guest houses from accessory structures. They're listed under one paragraph. Basically, now we're proposing to just break them out into 2. My staff report has an error. I was contacted by email, and my staff report has an error. The language under U, it says it's proposing to add which could include a toilet or a bathroom for the guest house provision. The language should be would, which would include. The correct language is in the ordinance itself. It's just my staff report had a error and said it should be would rather than could. The third item is, again, in the rural residential zone, changing the names of a home occupation and rural home business to minor home occupation, and changing the words rural home business to home occupation. So it does not change any of the approval criteria, just the name of what we're calling it. And that's in order to make it consistent with the EFU zone and the F2 zone terminology-wise. And the last change is to update Oregon Administrative Rules provision in Section 7 of the rural residential zone. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, then I will open the public hearing on ordinance 1503. And we do not have anyone signed up to testify on this ordinance. Is there anyone present that wishes to testify on ordinance 1503? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and I will look to my commissioners for any further comments or motion. Commissioner Stewart.
It's like, I'll make a motion. I'd like to move approval of ordinance 15-03 in the matter of amending Chapter 16 of Lane Code to adopt code language to make certain housekeeping corrections and clarification revisions to be consistent with the Oregon revised statutes and Oregon administrative rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing and hearing none, this is an ordinance. Will you call the roll, please?
Excuse me. Commissioner Sorensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart?
Aye.
Commissioner Lycan?
Aye.
Commissioner Bozevich?
Aye. And Commissioner Farr is excused. The ordinance passes 4-0 with Commissioner Farr excused. So that brings us to item B, which is the second reading and public hearing of ordinance PA 1316 in the matter of amending the Rural Comprehensive Plan to redesignate land from industrial to residential, rezone that land from RI Rural Industrial to RR2 Rural Residential, and adopt savings and severability clauses. And again, we have Ms. Eichner.
Good afternoon. This proposal before you today is a minor amendment to the Rural Comprehensive Plan that includes, as stated in the title, a redesignation of land from industrial land to residential land, and a rezoning from rural industrial zone to rural residential RR2, which is a 2-acre minimum lot size. These properties are located within the unincorporated community of Marcola. The subject property is composed of 7 separate parcels totaling 12.25 acres. The applicant owns approximately a little over 20.3 acres of contiguous land in this area. Some of it's the subject property and other is adjoining, but only the 12.25 acres is part of this proposal. All 7 parcels have been verified as legal lots by Lane County under Planning Action File PA 10-5549 and PA 10-5558. It's likely that each parcel would be developed with one single-family dwelling as the proposed zoning would allow. The subject property was first zoned suburban residential in 1980 by Ordinance 841. The county then approved a zone change request by the property owner at that time to light industrial, and that was then rezoned to rural industrial, which is the current zoning in about somewhere in 2002. The approval criteria for a minor amendment to the Rural Comprehensive Plan are found in Lane Code Chapter 16-400-6H. The approval criteria for a rezone are found in Lane Code 16-252. Staff's analysis and findings are found in Exhibit C of the proposed ordinance, which is in your packet. Staff finds that the proposal complies with local and state regulations and recommends approval of Ordinance PA 1316. And the Planning Commission did recommend unanimously approval of this proposal.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Lyken.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lindsay, so has there been any sort of negative feedback on the rezoning of this?
No negative comments that I've received at all.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, then I will open the public hearing for ordinance number PA 1316. And we do have one person signed up to speak, and that's Kim O'Day. Hold on one second. I think your mic got turned off, so allow our AV person here to assist.
There. Is that better?
Yes.
There I am. Kim O'Day, Law Office of Bill Close, 375 West 4th, Eugene, 97401. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I see that this is going to take us 5 minutes, and I'm going to try to respect that because there's not a lot more to be said on this application. Life comes full circle. It was residential. That's really what it needs to be. And then they put a mill there, and the mill functioned for a while, and it's not coming back. It's been dead since the 50s. And so we might as well wrap this back around to residential because as a resident of Marcola, we really need single-family housing out there. We have a short supply of decent single-family housing, and our schools kind of show it. So we really like some good single-family housing. Last really piece of this is I just want to thank staff and the LMD department. They've worked really hard to help us get through this. They've been very supportive. They find holes. They call me. They say, can you fix this? I said, I sure can. And we've gone forward. It's gone really smoothly. So I appreciate staff on this. All I have to give you today is at the Planning Commission meeting, we testified that we had several things, but we didn't have evidence of it at the time. It's not dispositive of the approval here, but I want to put it in the record. And one is an environmental assessment, because this is an old mill site that answers some concerns that were potentially out there. So I have a stack of these. And the other is simple proof that we have been and have approval from the local water district to hook up to their water district, and there's plenty of water to do so out there. And with that, I conclude my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. O'Day from the board? Commissioner Lichen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kim, I'm pleased to hear you say that working with staff was good, and I appreciate that. I think it's always good for us here on the board to hear, maybe especially from some folks like yourself or Bill or whomever, especially the land use attorneys. So I just want to say thank you for that, and that's good to hear positive feedback. I think it's important for us as a board just to hear from those of you, especially in the business itself, and just to hear that relationship. So I'm glad to hear that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board on ordinance PA 1316? So as a land use action, I think we need to also not only close the public hearing, but close the public record at this time. If there's no objections, I'll close the public hearing and the public record. Any discussion from the board or motion?
Want me to do it this time?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Sid, start.
All right. Mr. Chair, I'd like to move approval of ordinance number PA 1316, the matter of amending the rural comprehensive plan to redesignate land from industrial to residential, rezone that land from RI rural industrial to RR2 rural residential, and adopt savings and severability clauses.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion to the motion?
I'd just like to state, in reading the record, I do believe, as the Planning Commission and staff concurred, that it meets the criteria and warrants the rezone.
Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Can you read the roll, Mr. Mokohiski?
Commissioner Sorensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart.
Aye.
Commissioner Lichen.
Aye.
Commissioner Bozevich.
Aye. And Commissioner Farr is excused. The motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, moving on in our agenda to review of assignments. Mr. Mokohiski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any new assignments. We will have some follow-up, and I have drafted an email that summarizes my comments this morning regarding the Huron Center. And what I'll do is try to respond to some of the questions that were raised here in that email. So I have that drafted, but I'm getting some additional clarification. So that will be a follow-up that will occur. But I didn't hear any other specific assignments.
I was looking back. I didn't see.
There were no work session requests.
Yeah. And I think during the work session, the staff took notes on some of the questions the board raised relative to the scenario planning, and they have that list.
Yes, and there will be additional follow-up brought to the board on that item.
Yeah. Any other assignments that were missed, or seeing none, then I guess we'll move on. Have no executive session today, and that means that at this time I'd like to recess the board because we will have a work session tomorrow morning here in up in the Board of Commissioners conference room with the sheriff on butane hash oil and other issues relative to marijuana legalization that may be matters of county concern. And I believe that Sheriff Turner attended a conference in Colorado about some of the lessons learned out there, and it'll be very interesting to hear from him tomorrow. So that'll be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in the Board of Commissioners conference room. So we are recessed until then.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Typically in the past, we essentially adjourn the meeting and reconvene tomorrow. Isn't that a little bit more appropriate, being we're going to be not in session the rest of the day and it'll be a new day tomorrow? I see our agenda.
Our agenda says recess, but I don't...
Means it's already been noticed, it's publicized and everything as a meeting. I don't know, maybe legal counsel can give us direction, but
I'll look to the attorney.
We're comfortable with either, honestly, that you can do either recess or adjourn. It is noticed today, and tomorrow's meetings are noticed sufficiently, so there shouldn't be a problem either way.
And I believe as Commissioner Sorensen has pointed out before, we have until, Wednesday at 5 o'clock to finish our business, according to our notice meetings. So I think I'll stick with recessed for now, and maybe we'll look further into that, seeing it was advertised as recess. I'll stay with that format unless our parliamentarian has...
I will just say I agree with legal counsel. I think it goes both ways. I think the what Commissioner Stewart was mentioning, if we're done, if you're done, you adjourn. If you're just done, you recess. So I would say we are done today. We have it noticed for tomorrow at 9 a.m. time and place. So in the past, we have adjourned our meeting when we're done, and when we have a next scheduled meeting. So, but I also agree with Andy that either one is appropriate, because you can convene again tomorrow. Now, the difference would be, when are you recessing us for? Like, we're recessed to do what? To come back at 9 o'clock? Mm-hmm. Okay. That eases any concern I would have, because otherwise we could recess until 5, and then we could have a short meeting, recess until 9, and have a short meeting, and it could keep going and going. So that's the drawback of the recessing. But if you recess and say, we're going to reconvene 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, I was...
And we have enough time between now and 9 a.m. to really hammer this down.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of time. And then we can stay till 5, if we want tomorrow.
sorry I asked the question.
That's okay. That was a good question, but I think I'll stick with, we are going to recess until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and then we'll reconvene at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning as a work session in the Board of Commissioners conference room. So we are recessed.